The elevator door slid open on the 47th floor of Sterling & Associates, and there he was, Ethan Hale, my shadow, my nemesis, blocking the only path to my desk with a coffee cup in one hand and a smug grin that could curdle milk. I'd spent the last 3 months grinding through endless spreadsheets and client pitches, only to wake up this morning to an email from HR. The senior analyst position was down to 2 candidates, me and him. But as our eyes met in that sterile fluorescent hell, he didn't gloat. Instead, he whispered, "You look like you haven't slept in days, Alex. Want my coffee? Black. No sugar, just like your soul." It was the closest he'd ever come to kindness, and it terrified me because I knew, deep down, it wasn't a joke at all. I snatched the cup anyway, our fingers brushing just long enough to send a jolt up my arm that had nothing to do with static electricity. "Save the charity, Hale," I muttered, sidestepping him toward my cubicle, heart pounding like I'd run a marathon in wingtips. Ethan had been my rival since day one at this cutthroat Manhattan firm, top of his class at Wharton, charm that disarmed boardrooms, and a way of stealing ideas without anyone noticing. But lately, his jabs felt less like daggers and more like lifelines, pulling me into a current I wasn't ready to swim. Little did I know that coffee was the first crack in the facade we'd both built so carefully, the one hiding rivalries forged in fire and feelings buried even deeper. By noon, the office buzzed like a hive on the verge of swarming. Whispers slithered through the partitions. The promotion announcement was coming today, straight from the top brass in the glass-walled conference room overlooking Times Square. I hunched over my keyboard, fingers flying through a final report on the Thompson merger, every keystroke a prayer to the gods of corporate ladders. Ethan was across the aisle, his back to me, phone pressed to his ear in that low, velvety tone he reserved for clients who needed sweet-talking. I hated how it made my stomach twist, not with envy, but something warmer, more dangerous. We'd started at Sterling the same week 2 years ago, fresh-faced analysts thrown into the shark tank of finance. He was the golden boy from Connecticut's suburbs, all ivy polish and easy smiles. I was the scrappy kid from Philly's row houses, clawing my way up on scholarships and spite. Our first clash came over a market forecast, his optimistic projections versus my cautious red flags. And from there, it was war. Late-night emails laced with sarcasm, presentations where we'd undercut each other with helpful corrections, coffee runs that turned into verbal sparring matches. Yet, beneath the barbs, there were moments, him covering for me during a family emergency last Christmas, me slipping him notes on a pitch he botched that hinted at an alliance neither of us dared name. My phone vibrated, a text from my sister, Mia, the only one who knew the full truth about me. "Big day, bro, don't let that pretty boy distract you. Remember, you're a king." I smirked, typing back a thumbs-up emoji, but the distraction was already here. Ethan hung up and swiveled his chair, catching me mid-stare. "Stalking my calls now, Rossi? Afraid I'll poach your thunder." His eyes sparkled with that infuriating mix of challenge and warmth, the kind that made me question if the rainbow pin on my lanyard was too obvious or not obvious enough. In a firm like this, where the partners golfed at Augusta and swapped stories about wives and kids, being out felt like painting a target on your back. I'd come out in college, loud and proud amid Philly's pride parades. But here, I kept it quiet, dates confined to apps and anonymous bars in Chelsea. Ethan, though, he flew under the radar completely. No pins, no flags, just that enigmatic smile that could mean anything from straight curiosity to something more. "Poach away," I shot back, leaning over the partition. "But if you win, I'm expecting a resignation letter framed in gold." He laughed, a real one that crinkled the corners of his eyes, and for a split second, the office noise faded. It was gone as quickly as it came when Vanessa from HR poked her head out of the conference room. "Alex, Ethan, Mr. Sterling wants you both." Now, my pulse spiked. This was it, the moment we'd bled for, the summit of our private Everest. The walk to the conference room felt like a death march, our shoes echoing in sync on the marble floors. Colleagues averted their eyes, the air thick with second-hand ambition. Mr. Sterling, a silver fox in a Brooks Brothers suit, stood at the head of the table, flanked by 2 VPs whose faces I'd memorized from org charts. "Gentlemen," he boomed, gesturing to the chairs opposite him. You've both made compelling cases. Ethan, your risk models on the merger were innovative, bold, even. Alex, your due diligence reports were airtight, the kind that saves us from lawsuits. We nodded, me gripping the armrests until my knuckles whitened, Ethan sitting ramrod straight beside me, his knee inches from mine under the table. I could smell his cologne, cedar and citrus, the same one that lingered in the break room after our accidental overlaps. But only one can lead the new division, Sterling continued, his gaze flicking between us like he was appraising livestock. After much deliberation, the pause stretched, eternal, my mind flashing to what-ifs. The corner office with the Hudson view, the salary bump that could finally get Mia out of our mom's cramped apartment, the validation after years of proving I belonged in rooms like this, that we're offering the position to Ethan. The words landed like a gut punch, sucking the air from the room. Ethan's face went slack, surprise etching lines around his mouth, while I forced a nod, the burn in my throat tasting like bile. Sterling droned on about transition plans and team synergies, but I barely heard, vision tunneling on the polished mahogany table. As we filed out, Ethan grabbed my elbow, gentle, insistent, pulling me into the alcove by the copy machine. Alex, wait. This isn't. I didn't expect. His voice cracked, uncharacteristically raw, and up close, I saw the guilt shadowing his green eyes. You deserved it more. Your work on the projections? It was the backbone of everything. I yanked free, the touch too much, too soon after the loss. Spare me the pity party, Hale. You fought dirty as always. Just, congrats. I stormed to the elevators, jabbing the down button like it owed me money, but he followed, slipping in just as the doors hissed shut. The descent was agony, 47 floors of silence broken only by the soft whir of cables. At the lobby, he tried again. Dinner tonight? My treat. We need to talk about this. I hesitated, the invitation hanging between us like a truce flag. Against every instinct screaming rivalry, I whispered, fine. 8 o'clock, the Oak Room. The doors parted, and I fled into the December chill, wondering if I'd just stepped into a trap or a revelation. That night, the Oak Room's dim amber lights did nothing to warm the knot in my chest. I arrived early, nursing a scotch at the bar, replaying the day's humiliation on loop. Ethan showed up in a navy blazer that hugged his shoulders just right, scanning the room until his gaze landed on me. He slid onto the stool beside mine, ordering the same drink without asking. To silver linings, he toasted, clinking glasses. I glared over the rim. Or to knowing when you've been outmaneuvered. He sighed, running a hand through his hair, disheveling it in a way that made him look vulnerably human. It wasn't maneuvering, Alex. Sterling pulled me aside yesterday, said the board wanted safe hands for the role, someone with my background. He air-quoted the word, and something clicked. Ethan's family was old money, the kind that donated to campaigns and sat on nonprofit boards. Safe. Predictable. Not like me, the Italian-American kid with a mom who waitressed and a dad who'd bailed before I could walk. We ordered steaks, medium rare, because of course he'd remember that from some forgotten team lunch, and the conversation veered from work gripes to safer waters, bad movies, Philly cheesesteaks versus New Haven pizza. It was easy, disarming, the rivalry melting under the wine's haze. By dessert, he was confessing quirks I'd never guessed. His secret love for Broadway musicals, how he'd once auditioned for a community theater production of Rent and bombed spectacularly. Out of the closet in more ways than one, huh? I teased, the words slipping out before I could censor them. His fork paused midair, eyes searching mine. Something like that. The implication hung there, electric, but I changed the subject, steering us back to office politics. As we parted on the sidewalk, snowflakes dusting his collar, he squeezed my shoulder. Thanks for coming. Means more than you know. I watched him vanish into the night, cab lights swallowing him whole, and for the first time, I wondered if the fight wasn't for the job at all, but for him. The next morning hit like a freight train. Emails piled up, my inbox a battlefield of congratulations for Ethan and subtle condolences disguised as keep up the great work. I powered through, channeling the ache into caffeine and code, but by lunch, doubt crept in. What if I'd misread last night? Ethan's vulnerability could be a ploy, the ultimate power move to keep me off balance. I spotted him in the break room, chatting with Lila from marketing, her laugh too bright, his hand too casual on her arm. Jealousy flared, hot and irrational, because why? He wasn't mine to claim. Shaking it off, I grabbed a yogurt and retreated, but not before he caught my eye and mouthed, "Lunch?" I nodded curtly, regretting it instantly. We ended up at the deli around the corner, the one with the greasy hero sandwiches that passed for comfort food in this concrete jungle. Snow crunched under our boots as we navigated the slushy sidewalks of Midtown, the city a blur of holiday lights and harried pedestrians. "About last night," he started, unwrapping his turkey club with deliberate care. "I didn't mean to unload like that. It's just, you're the only one here who gets it. The pressure, the fakeness." I paused, mid-bite into my prosciutto. "Gets what exactly?" "The golden boy routine." He winced, setting the sandwich down. "Not golden. Try glass ceiling with spikes. My folks expect the whole package. Corner office, wife, 2.5 kids. Coming out? That's not in the script." The confession landed softly, muffled by the diner's hum, but it rocked me. Ethan Hale, untouchable Ethan, was in the closet, hiding in plain sight while I tiptoed around my own truth. I swallowed hard, the bread sticking in my throat. "So why tell me? Afraid I'll use it against you in round 2 of the promotion wars." He met my gaze, steady and unflinching. "Because I trust you, Alex. And because fighting you? It's the only thing that feels real in this place." Heat rushed to my face, a cocktail of flattery and fear. Trust. Real. Words that bridged the chasm between rivals and, what? Friends? More? I mumbled something about needing to get back, fleeing the booth with half my sandwich abandoned. The afternoon blurred. Meetings, memos, but his words echoed, a siren call pulling at threads I'd long ignored. That evening, Mia called, her voice crackling over the line from our mom's kitchen in South Philly. "Spill, Alex. You sound like you swallowed a lemon." I paced my tiny Astoria apartment, the radiator clanging like a bad soundtrack. "It's work. Lost the promotion to this guy, Ethan. He's complicated." She laughed, sharp and knowing. "Complicated how?" "Like, I hate him, but his smile haunts my dreams complicated." "Busted." I sank onto the couch, confessing the dinner, the closet reveal, the way his knee had brushed mine under the conference table. Mia went quiet. Then, "Sounds like he's been fighting for you, not against you. But be careful, bro hearts in the office? That's a minefield." She was right. Fraternization policies, gossip mills, the unspoken rule that queerness was fine in theory but messy in practice. Still, when Ethan texted later, "Drinks this weekend? No shop talk, promise." I replied yes before doubt could intervene. Saturday found us at a dive bar in the East Village, the kind with sticky floors and zero pretense. Neon signs buzzed overhead, casting rainbow hues on the scarred wooden tables. We claimed a corner booth, beers sweating in the dim light, and for once, the conversation flowed without subtext. He talked about his little sister, Ellie, how she'd caught him kissing a boy in high school and kept the secret like a badge of honor. I shared stories of my dad's ghost, gone but ever present in the toughen up echoes, and mom's fierce love, the pride flag she hung year-round despite neighborhood side-eyes. Laughter came easy, the kind that loosened knots in your chest, and when our hands grazed reaching for the same coaster, neither pulled away. "You're different here," he said softly, thumb tracing the bottle's label. "Away from the suits. Softer." I snorted. "Soft gets you eaten in finance. But yeah, maybe I am." His smile was tentative, a bridge extended. "Good. I like softer, Alex." By last call, the bar had emptied, leaving us in a bubble of quiet intimacy. Outside, the December wind whipped through the streets, but we lingered under the awning, scarves tangled against the cold. "This, us hanging out," he ventured, breath fogging the air. "It's not just blowing off steam, is it?" My heart hammered, the question I'd dodged for months staring me down. "No," I admitted, voice barely above the traffic hum. "It's more." He stepped closer, close enough that I could count the freckles across his nose, and for a heartbeat, I thought he'd kiss me. Right there, under the flickering street lamp. But he just nodded, eyes shining. "Then let's see where it goes. No rivals, just this." We parted with a hug that lingered, his chin resting on my shoulder, and as I subwayed home, the city's pulse matched my own, alive, uncertain, hopeful. Monday morning shattered the spell. The office was abuzz with Ethan's official handover, press releases, team emails, a cake in the break room that tasted like cardboard victory. I clapped along during the brief announcement, forcing enthusiasm, but inside, resentment simmered. He caught me in the hallway later, all polished smiles for the passers-by. Hey, about the weekend. Later, I cut him off, nodding toward the interns milling about. Walls have ears. His face fell, but he recovered with a nod, the mask slipping back into place. The day dragged, punctuated by stolen glances across the floor, his questioning, mine guarded. By 5, I was fraying. The promotion loss a fresh wound reopened by every congrats, Ethan echoing down the hall. I hit a gym in Hell's Kitchen after work, pounding the treadmill until my lungs burned, sweat blurring the betrayal. Why did it sting so much? The job, sure, but him? Keeping distance felt like self-preservation, yet every fiber rebelled. My phone buzzed mid-stride. A photo from Mia of Mom's latest baking disaster. A lopsided rainbow cake with "Proud of you always" scrawled in frosting. It grounded me, a reminder of roots deeper than corporate games. Drying off in the locker room, I scrolled to Ethan's last text, the one with a goofy selfie from the bar, captioned, "To more nights like this." My thumb hovered over reply, then typed, "Cake in break room was dry. Drinks tonight? Your place." Sent. Risky, maybe, but Mia was right. Minefields were for crossing, not avoiding. His apartment in Chelsea was a revelation. Loft-style with exposed brick and bookshelves groaning under finance tomes and dog-eared novels. Jazz played low from hidden speakers, and he greeted me with chilled white wine and takeout Thai, no pretense. We ate cross-legged on the rug, the city lights twinkling beyond the windows like conspirators. I turned it down. He blurted halfway through pad CEW, fork clattering to the plate. I froze. The promotion? What? He nodded, sheepish. Called Sterling this afternoon. Told him I couldn't take it. Not if it meant losing you as. Whatever this is becoming. Shock rippled through me, hot on the heels of relief. You idiot. That's career suicide. He shrugged, eyes locked on mine. Worth it. Fighting for the job? Easy. Fighting for us. That's the real battle. The air thickened, charged with unspoken promises, and when he leaned in, our lips met, soft, tentative, a seal on the truce we'd both craved. But kisses in the quiet of his loft couldn't erase the real world waiting outside. The next week at Sterling was a tightrope walk. Ethan, officially reconsidering the offer per HR spin, threw himself into transition tasks with me as his shadow analyst. A demotion wrapped in collaboration. Colleagues whispered, piecing together the puzzle of our sudden synergy. Joint reports flowing like water, late nights brainstorming in his temporary office where our hands would brush over shared keyboards, lingering just a beat too long. Lila cornered me one afternoon by the coffee machine, her manicure tapping the counter like Morse code. You two are thick as thieves lately. Spill, what's the angle? I stirred in creamer, feigning nonchalance. Just making sure the new division doesn't tank on day one. She arched a brow, unconvinced, but dropped it with a "watch your back, Rossi. Jealousy's a bitch in this place." She wasn't wrong. By Thursday, the rumors metastasized. Ethan had pulled strings to block my promotion, payback for some imagined slight. Or worse, we were in cahoots, gaming the system for a joint bid. I overheard it in the men's room. 2 junior associates chuckling about the bromance that's burning bridges. It stung, not because it was true, but because it twisted our fragile thing into office fodder. That night, over burgers at a hole-in-the-wall in Gramercy, Ethan vented. They're idiots. Let them talk. But his jaw was tight, the easy weekend vibe cracked. Easy for you to say. You've got the safety net, family money, connections. Me? One wrong whisper, and I'm out on my ass. He reached across the table, squeezing my wrist. Not without a fight. And not alone. His touch grounded me, but doubt lingered like exhaust fumes. The real fracture came Friday, during the quarterly board mixer at the plaza. Crystal chandeliers dripped light over tuxedoed execs and power couples, the air heavy with cigar smoke and schmoozing. Ethan and I arrived separately. Policy be damned, optics mattered. Me in a rented tux that pinched at the shoulders, him looking like he'd stepped off a GQ spread. We orbited the room, trading nods across champagne flutes, until Sterling pulled him aside for a hushed chat by the grand piano. I nursed a ginger ale, chatting up a VP's wife about her charity gala, when Mia texted, "Mom's asking when you're bringing that nice boy from work to dinner. Tell her soon." I smiled despite the knot in my gut, pocketing the phone just as Ethan approached, face ashen. "Bad news," I murmured, steering us toward a quieter alcove draped in velvet curtains. He downed his drink in one gulp. "Sterling's pushing the promotion through anyway, says it's best for the firm. And he knows about us." My stomach dropped. "How?" Ethan rubbed his temple. "Lila must have said something." He cornered me, all fatherly concern. "Son, talents like yours don't need distractions." Implied I'd tank my career if I didn't straighten up. The word hung, ugly and barbed, a relic of prejudices we'd both dodged. Rage bubbled, hot and protective. "Screw him. We walk, together." But Ethan shook his head, eyes distant. "Can't. Not yet. Ellie's college tuition, the family pressure. I need this job, Alex." The alcove felt smaller, the party's murmur closing in like judgment. "So what? We go back to rivals?" "Pretend." He cupped my face, thumb brushing my cheek. "Never pretend. Just pause. For now." The kiss he pressed to my forehead was desperate, a promise laced with goodbye, and as he melted back into the crowd, I stood there, tux rumpled, hard in tatters. The weekend was a blur of avoidance. Me crashing on Mia's couch in Philly, train tickets bought on impulse, her apartment a sanctuary of takeout pizza and bad TV. "He's scared," she said Saturday morning, flipping pancakes in her sunlit kitchen. "Doesn't mean he doesn't care." I poked at the stack, syrup pooling untouched. Caring's not enough when the world's stacked against us. One slip, and it's not just jobs, it's everything. Mom shuffled in then, her apron dusted with flour, wrapping me in a hug that smelled of lavender and home. "Love's the fight worth losing for, me Joe. Your dad. He ran from his. Don't let fear win yours." Her words, simple and steel-willed, cracked my armor. By Sunday, I was texting Ethan, "Back in town. Talk." His reply was instant. "My place. 7. The loft felt different that night, shadows longer, jazz replaced by silence. He opened the door in sweats, hair tousled, vulnerability etched in every line. I told Sterling no. For real this time. Shock stole my breath. "What?" "Ethan." He pulled me inside, hands trembling on my arms. "You're right. Pausing isn't living. And hiding? It's killing me." We sank onto the couch, his head on my shoulder, confessions spilling like rain. He admitted sabotaging his own pitch weeks ago, tweaking numbers to force a tie. Anything to prolong our rivalry, to keep me close without risking the leap. "I fought hardest just to stay near you," he whispered, voice breaking. Tears pricked my eyes. It reframed everything. The barbs as flirtations, the accidents as intentions. "Idiot," I murmured, tilting his chin up. "You could have just said." Our kiss was deeper this time, not desperate but deliberate, a reclaiming. Monday brought the fallout, Sterling's summons, a terse email demanding explanations. We walked in together, hands unlinked but solidarity palpable. "Decision stands." The boss growled from behind his desk, face thunderous. "But if this arrangement affects performance," Ethan cut him off, voice steady. "It won't. Because it's not an arrangement. It's us." Sterling's bluster faltered, surprise flickering. "Us? As in, yes," I interjected, chin high. "And we're damn good at our jobs, distractions or not." The silence stretched, then he sighed, waving us out. "Fine, but keep it professional. And Ethan, the promotion's yours if you want it. Earned, not gifted." We left lighter, the hallway brighter, whispers be damned. The weeks that followed were a delicate dance, stolen lunches in Central Park, where we'd feed each other bites of falafel under sycamore trees strung with holiday lights, laughing about nothing and everything, quiet evenings at my place, cooking pasta from Mom's recipe while he belted show tunes off-key, his baritone filling the cramped space with joy. At work, we maintained the facade, professional nods, collaborative emails, but the undercurrent hummed, electric and alive. Lila noticed, of course, pulling me aside one Tuesday with a conspiratorial grin. "You too are glowing. Spill the tea." I hesitated then, "It's real." Him and me. Her eyes widened, then softened. About time. The office needed some color. Her acceptance, casual and warm, chipped away at the isolation I'd armored myself with. But not everyone was Lila. Enter Marcus Hale, Ethan's older brother, visiting from Boston for a family check-in that turned into an ambush. He showed up unannounced at the loft one crisp December evening. Just as Ethan and I were midway through a rom-com marathon, popcorn scattered like confetti. The door buzzed, and there stood Marcus, broad-shouldered, all-American in khakis and a polo, the spitting image of their father from Ethan's wallet photos. Surprise, he boomed, envelope in hand. Legal docs, from the look of it. Ethan froze, remote slipping from his grip. Mark? What the hell? I stood awkwardly, offering a handshake that he ignored, eyes narrowing on the half-eaten pizza box emblazoned with date night special. Family dinner, Marcus announced, breezing past to the kitchen like he owned the place. Dad sent papers, trust fund adjustments. Said you needed a nudge. Ethan followed, shooting me an apologetic glance. Alex, this is my brother. Mark, Alex, coworker. The word landed like a slap, and I busied myself clearing dishes, ears straining. Their voices rose, Marcus pressing about the promotion delay, Ethan deflecting with vague timing issues. Then, sharper, in this roommate vibe? Dad mentioned rumors. You're not. You know. The pause was deafening. Gay? Yeah, Mark. I am. And Alex isn't a roommate. Silence. Then Marcus's bark. Jesus, Ethan. The firm's your future. Don't torch it over some fling. I stepped in then, plates clattering to the sink. Not a fling. And the future's bigger than a paycheck. Marcus turned, assessing me like a balance sheet. Easy for you to say. We're Hales. We play the long game. The door slammed behind him 20 minutes later, leaving Ethan curled on the couch, face buried in his hands. That night, we didn't sleep much, him recounting childhoods shadowed by expectations, me sharing Mia's coming-out war stories, how she'd punched a bully in 3rd grade for slinging slurs. Family's supposed to be the net, he murmured, head on my chest. Not the noose. By dawn, resolve hardened. We'd face it together, starting with a call to Ellie, his confidant. Her squeal over speakerphone. Finally. I knew from that time you doodled hearts around his name in your notebook. Ease the ache. Her fierce support a balm. Christmas loomed, a minefield of traditions. I invited him to Philly, but he demurred. Parents' annual gala in Connecticut, non-negotiable. Come anyway. I pushed, half joking. Show him the real you. He laughed, but it rang hollow. Instead, we compromised. Christmas Eve at my mom's, a low-key affair of lasagna and lights. Eve with his family, then a midnight train back to me. The Philly night was magic. Mom enveloping him in hugs, declaring his cannoli skills better than Nana's. Mia grilling him on Broadway faves while snow blanketed the stoop. He fit, seamless, like he'd always been there. Your family's chaos, he whispered as we snuck kisses under the mistletoe. I love it. Connecticut was another story. He returned Christmas morning, hollow-eyed, collapsing onto my bed with tales of passive-aggressive toasts and Dad's jokes about finding a nice girl. Marcus ran interference, but it's exhausting. Pretending's a full-time job. I held him as he vented, anger simmering at the Hales' gilded cage. Then quit pretending. Tell them. For you, not us. He nodded against my neck, but doubt lingered in his grip. New Year's brought a fragile peace. A quiet countdown in Times Square's shadow, confetti raining as we kissed at midnight, resolutions whispered against lips, more honesty, less hiding. Back at work, the promotion saga resolved oddly. Sterling, perhaps chastened by HR's diversity seminar, offered me a lateral move to lead a sub-team under Ethan, framing it as merit-based partnership. We accepted, the corner office now ours to share, a symbol of bridges built. But peace cracked in February, when an anonymous email hit HR, screenshots of our inappropriate bar tabs, time-stamped after hours, laced with innuendo. The fallout was swift, a stern meeting, warnings logged, eyes on us like hawks. Who's behind it? Ethan fumed in the stairwell, away from prying cams. I shrugged, gut twisting. Someone threatened. Lila? No, she's solid. Paranoia seeped in, turning allies suspect. Nights grew tense, trust fraying at edges. The source revealed itself at the Valentine's mixer. Vanessa from HR, tipsy on Merlot, cornering us with a sly, "Heard you two are the office romance novel. Cute, but watch the optics, some folks aren't as progressive." Her smile didn't reach her eyes, and later, digging through mutual connections, we traced the email to her ex, a jilted analyst from last year's layoffs. Petty revenge, but it stung. Proof that even in 2025 Manhattan, love could be weaponized. We rallied, reporting it up the chain, Sterling surprisingly supportive. "Handle your personal lives. I'll handle the bigots." It bonded us deeper, vulnerability forging steel. Spring thawed the city and our fears. Cherry blossoms dusting Washington Square Park, where we'd picnic on weekends, debating life beyond spreadsheets. Him dreaming of financial advising for queer nonprofits, me eyeing an MBA to pivot toward impact investing. Together, he'd ask, lacing fingers under the tablecloth. "Always," I'd affirm, meaning it more each time. At Sterling, our partnership bloomed. The Thompson merger closed flawlessly, earning kudos and a bonus pool that let us splurge on a weekend in the Berkshires. Hiking trails by day, stargazing from a rented cabin's porch by night, his head in my lap as we named constellations like secrets. But undercurrents stirred. Ethan's parents announced a summer visit, New York, to see the progress, code for inspection. He paced the loft nightly, scripting responses to inevitable probes. "Just be you," I urged, but anxiety gnawed. Mia, ever the tactician, coach via video, flirt with mom, bond with dad over sports. And if it gets real, own it. Ellie chimed in, promising intel. "They're thawing. Sent me a pride sticker for my laptop last month." Progress. The visit arrived in June, a sweltering haze over Central Park. We met at the Low Boathouse, linen suits wilting under humidity. Mrs. Hale, Grace, elegant in pearls, embraced Ethan warmly, then me with polite reserve. Mr. Hale, Richard, stern jaw softened by bifocals, shook hands firmly, appraising. Lunch unfolded in fits, small talk on markets, Ethan's promotion success, my impressive diligence. Then Grace, sipping iced tea. "Ethan mentions you often, Alex. Says you're indispensable." I flushed, glancing at him. "He's exaggerating. Team effort." Richard cleared his throat. "Speaking of teams, we've heard whispers. About you too." The table stilled, forks hovering. Ethan's grip tightened under the tablecloth. "Dad." But Richard raised a hand. "Son, we're not blind. Or fools. Just concerned. This world chews up dreamers." Grace interjected softly, and spits out the unconventional. "But if he makes you happy." Tears welled in Ethan's eyes, a dam breaking. "He does. More than the job, the money, everything." Richard nodded slowly, glancing at Grace. "Then that's what matters. But tread carefully. Hales protect their own." The hug at goodbye was awkward but real, a cornerstone laid. Emboldened, Ethan came out to Marcus next, a terse phone call from the High Line, windswept and resolute. "I'm gay, bro. Have been." "And Alex?" "He's the one." Marcus's response, stunned silence, then gruff, "About damn time. Dad's known since college. Why do you think he pushed Wharton so hard? Armor, not chains." Relief crashed over Ethan, shared in a tear-streaked voicemail that had me grinning through my run. Summer peaked with pride, rainbow flags snapping along Fifth Avenue, the parade a riot of color and chant. We marched with Sterling's float. Yes, the firm had won now, post-scandal diversity push. Hands linked openly, Lila cheering from the sidelines with signs reading, "Love wins, bitches." The energy was cathartic, washing away years of sidelong glances. That night, rooftop party at a friend's in Brooklyn, we danced under string lights, bodies close, future tangible. Autumn brought ambition's return. A headhunter poached us for a boutique firm in Brooklyn Heights, queer-friendly with a mission-driven bent, advising startups in sustainable tech and LGBTQ+ ventures. Our empire. Ethan toasted over dim sum, eyes alight. I clinked glasses. Built on us. Sterling let us go gracefully. Sterling himself sending a note. "You two redefined partnership. Don't be strangers." But just as roots took hold, a storm brewed. November elections loomed, headlines screaming about rollback threats, anti-discrimination bills gutted, safe spaces shuttered. It hit close. A client, a translate app startup, pulled funding amid investor jitters. Ethan dove in, late nights modeling scenarios, but exhaustion etched his face. What if it's all for nothing? He confessed one rainy evening, rain lashing the windows. I pulled him close. Then we fight smarter. Together. Our love became activism. Volunteering at a Chelsea youth center, hosting fundraisers in the new apartment we'd leased, a cozy two-bedroom with Hudson views. The climax crested in December, a year from our coffee handover hook. Ethan's proposal, not ring, but resolve, came mid-blizzard, snow blanketing the city in hush. We'd hunkered at home, power flickering, candles casting golden pools. "Marry me?" he asked, not on knee but earnest, holding a simple band etched with coordinates. Our first bar, that pivotal night. Not legally yet, maybe not ever if the world's cruel. But in every way that counts, yes? Tears blurred my yes, the ring slipping on like fate. We made love to the storm's rhythm, tender, affirming, souls entwined. Yet dawn brought the twist, a call from Richard. Heart attack, mild but wake up. Come home, son. Bring Alex. Time to make it official. The flight to Connecticut was tense, hospital corridors sterile and echoing. Grace wept in our arms. Marcus clapped Ethan on the back, whispering proud of you. Richard, pale in his gown, gripped our hands. Fought the wrong battles too long. Don't you make my mistakes. It was absolution, a family reforged. Back in New York, New Year's Eve found us on our rooftop, city sprawling below. To rivals turned everything. Ethan murmured, nuzzling my neck. I turned, kissing him slow. To fighting hardest, for us. Fireworks bloomed, a promise etched in light. The new year unfolded like a well-negotiated merger. Seamless transitions, unexpected synergies. Our Brooklyn firm thrived, clients flocking to the power couple vibe we'd unwittingly branded. Mornings started with coffee shared over the breakfast bar, Ethan's tousled hair catching the sunrise as he quizzed me on weekend plans. Brunch with Mia and her new girlfriend, or a hike upstate. Evenings wound down with takeout and true crime pods, his commentary sharper than the narrator's. Workdays hummed with purpose, advising a non-binary fashion line on equity raises, crunching numbers for a queer mental health app. Challenges arose, boardroom biases, funding droughts, but we tackled them as a unit, his optimism balancing my pragmatism. Friendships deepened too. Lila became our unofficial third wheel, crashing game nights with board games and brutal charades. You two are disgustingly cute, she'd tease, but her eyes held envy-tinged joy. She'd come out herself that spring, dating a barista from the village. Mia and Ellie bonded over a girls' trip to Fire Island, returning with inside jokes and promises of double dates. Even Marcus surprised us, flying down for a Knicks game, ribbing Ethan about finally picking a winner. Family ties strengthened. Philly holidays became tradition. Mom's table groaning under turkey and tamales, Grace contributing Connecticut clam chowder, the two matriarchs swapping recipes like war stories. Richard's recovery inspired him to join a local PFLAG chapter, his baritone reading at open mics, poems about sons and second chances. Who knew Dad had soul? Ethan marveled, teary at a Father's Day barbecue. But growth wasn't linear. A June client imploded, embezzlement scandal, our due diligence scapegoated. Headlines blared, queer firm's blind spot, trolls flooding socials with slurs. Ethan spiraled, doubting our path. Are we naive, thinking we can insulate love from this shit? I found him at dawn on the fire escape, coffee cold. Naive? Maybe. But quitting? That's surrender. We pivoted. Transparent audits, pro bono audits for affected startups. The backlash faded, reputation burnished. Personal tempests brewed too. My mom's health scare, a routine check flagging irregularities, sent me reeling, trains blurring between coasts. Ethan canceled meetings, held my hand through scans, his presence a steady hum. We're in this, Alex. All of it. Clean bill came, but it reshaped us. More calls home, less taken for granted tomorrows. Fall brought a surprise. Ellie's engagement, to a software engineer from Seattle. The wedding planning pulled us into chaos, venue hunts, tux fittings, Ethan beaming as best man. Payback for all those years she covered for me, he'd say. Rehearsal dinner in a vineyard loft. Toasts flowed. Mia's roast on trading spreadsheets for soulmates. Richard's quiet to chosen families. Vows under autumn oak sealed it. Ellie whispering to me post-ceremony. Thank you for giving him the courage. Winter circled back. Anniversary marked by a return to the oak room. Same booth. Steaks medium rare. 1 year. Ethan toasted, ring glinting. From rivals to this. I clinked, throat tight. Best plot twist. But as dessert arrived, tiramisu, his favorite, the hook looped. An envelope from Sterling, invitation to consult on a legacy project. Nostalgia tugged, but we declined politely. Our story's here now. Yet the past whispered. Vanessa resurfaced, emailing apologies, therapy, amends, for her role in the leaks. We met for coffee, neutral ground. I was scared, she admitted, eyes downcast. Of my own mess. Hurt you to feel control. Forgiveness came easy. We'd all been there. Redemption's a process, I said. She nodded, a tentative friend reborn. Climax echoed in spring rains, a national conference on inclusive finance. Us as keynote speakers. Stage lights hot. Ethan's hand in mine as we shared our arc, from corporate cage to liberated lanes. Q&A turned raw, a young analyst asking, how do you survive the rivalry inside? Ethan glanced at me, voice steady, by realizing the real rival was fear. And the win? Staying close. Applause thundered, but his words landed deepest, circling to that elevator morning, the coffee handover, the admission that started it all. Life layered on, adoptions considered, a puppy named Scout bounding through our home, collaborations with Mia's nonprofit, blending finance and advocacy. Prejudices persisted, boardroom microaggressions, street harassment, but they glanced off, our armor woven from shared scars. On our second anniversary, atop the Empire State, city aglow, Ethan pulled me close. Fought hardest to stay close, worth every battle. I kissed him, wind-tossed, and I'd fight again. For you. For us. Below, Manhattan pulsed, rivalries resolved, loves enduring, a testament to hearts that bent but never broke.